and welcome to the newest episode of the GeekWave. And in this one, we're talking about situational comedies on your television between 2010 to 2020. Now, we'll get into that in a bit, but of course, we have a couple of news topics we're going to talk about first. Some trailers that came out, some comic book news, and a big thing that you might have heard of called the PlayStation 5. That was pretty much just announced and everything involved with that. So we'll talk about it all really quick and we'll get into that. Of course, this is the GeekWave. It's the low budget show. It's the show so low it has no budget, and that's how we do things. Box of comic books here. Look at this. You guys might enjoy this. Here is a, what the hell are these? A guidebook or the art of X-Men The Last Stand. Because, you know, everyone loves X-Men The Last Stand. That's why my grandpa has that. And we're just going to have fun and get into it. So before we jump into the news topics, I just got a little thing I want to talk to you guys about. I have a new series coming to the channel. I actually have a couple that I've been working on, but I got one that's ready to go. It is called 5 Film Feature. And what this is every now and then when I'm watching a movie or something, I want to talk about it, right? So maybe there's a movie that I don't think can sustain its own, 10-minute video or something, and maybe I just want to talk about a few points or talk about it briefly. That is what 5 Film Feature is for. We are going to be talking about 5 movies that I've watched that I'm excited to talk about and ready to talk about. So we got the first episode in the works. I got the episodes that I got the movies I'm going to talk about. And I'll just give you a little teaser right now. One of them is Citizen Kane. So we're starting with Citizen Kane, which I know is weird because I could do a whole topic on Citizen Kane, but I watched it recently, so we'll do a brief discussion here about it. And then another one is Warcraft, that movie from 2016 that I think a lot of people forgot about, but it's not terrible. So we're going to talk about it there. So 5 Film Feature is going to be coming to this channel hopefully at the end of this week. If not this week, it's going to be there at the beginning of next week. So be on the lookout for that if you guys are interested in that. But enough of that. Let us get into some of the news topics we have here today. We got a couple things. I'm not going to go through every single thing on the PlayStation because I don't know everything about that. But before we get to the PlayStation stuff, this news I thought was very interesting, so I wanted to talk about it for a little bit here. Judd Apatow. You guys know Judd Apatow. He's made everything you like that involves the comedians you love. He is making a George Carlin documentary, which I think is so cool. That's such a fun idea. I like both of those people. I love George Carlin. I love Judd Apatow. So them working together, I think that works really well. I'm excited to see how that's going to turn out, how this documentary is going to be done. I don't know the exact timeline of when it's going to come out, or even the timeline of when it's going to take place in the career of George Carlin, but I think this is going to be really fun and interesting. I still want to see The King of Staten Island. I haven't got a chance to watch that yet, but I know Judd Apatow's daughter is she making her debut in this movie? I can't remember. I know she's going to be in it. I don't know if it's her debut, though. I'm pretty excited to see how she does and what she's going to be like. So that could be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see how that turns out. So that's going to be really fun. And yeah, I love Judd Apatow, so that's going to be really cool. And another piece of news here that's good we're going to be talking about is Bill and Ted Face the Music got a trailer. And yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. I'm on board with this. Like, this is one of my most anticipated movies of the year because I love these guys. I think they are very talented and very interesting, and it looks very fan servicey, the trailer. But like, what else are you gonna do with Bill and Ted? You're not gonna do that much different or anything over the top. You're gonna do exactly what fans want, and that's exactly what this premise feels like. I love this premise of these guys are destined to write the song that unites the world and saves the world. But they're in their 50s now, and they haven't done it. I think that's a great idea, and I'm very excited to see where that just turns out and what becomes of that. Looks pretty interesting. We see buff version of both of them in prison. That's kind of funny. I think it's going to be a very interesting movie, and I cannot wait to see what comes of this. I love Bill and Ted, and seeing that these guys are both willing to come back and do this, you can tell they have this respect for the property and understand what it became over the years. So I think that's going to be really exciting. And just seeing them back, man, it's really cool. I think they're going to have children. I think they cast their daughters for this show, which I think is going to be really fun, too. I cannot wait to see how that's going to be. I think it's going to be a really good time. And my glasses are kind of dirty, so we're just going to clean them in Vamp. Well, we get on to our next topic, which is one I decided I was thinking about taking out, but I thought I'd keep it in because we have other comic book news to talk about. So Bendis kind of said he might be leaving Superman sometime soon, which everyone was like, oh my God, thank you. Do it. Just get off of Superman. Go write Batman. Go write The Question. Go write one of those characters that we know you can write really well, like Renee Montoya. He'd be so good at a Renee Montoya book. Just give him that. But, he kind of clarified that it won't be for a while yet, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm not reading his Superman, so it doesn't upset me all that much, but I just think you kind of got a hit or miss going with his Superman. Not a lot of people love it as much as some of his other works. Not a lot of people think it's the best Superman run, especially coming off of what Tomasi did. I think it's just kind of filler Superman until we get the next one. It makes me wonder who would replace him after Bendis is done, if there's anybody at DC that would actually want to take Superman. I still think give it to Tom Taylor, even though he's got a bunch of shit going on of deceased at the moment. And he's also doing a Hellblazer book, which is kind of cool. I didn't put that on my list, though, or for my news, but I think that's really cool. But I don't know. So Bendis, you could take it or leave his Superman. It doesn't affect me that much because I'm not reading it. But I don't know. I was really excited to hear that he might have been off the book, but now that's not going to be for a while. Yay. He's introducing a new villain like Rogol. Yay. And that's fun. But also, guys, just to put out there, I think I'm going to be doing a quick impromptu GeekWave sometime this week talking about how to make a Superman movie. So that's going to be really fun. We'll talk about that when it comes, okay? Let's keep going on with our discussion and things in the news. So our next topic is another one that is comic book related, and it is Christopher Cantwell, who is writing arguably my favorite book at Marvel. But Marvel's been killing it in the stuff that's not their main titles. He's writing Doctor Doom. He is taking over Iron Man with the help of Alex Ross making a costume. Okay, there's so much good about this. I love Dan Slott. I think he's a fantastic writer. He's very talented. You can either like what he does or you can just don't appreciate what he does. But he gave us Superior Spider-Man. He gave us a really good Silver Surfer run. His Iron Man, his Tony Stark, just kind of flew under the radar, and this is the revival. This is the much-needed revival that this character needs, and I'm so excited to see what Christopher Cantwell does. And it makes me think, what is Dan Slott going to do next? What's his next big book? I know he's still writing Fantastic Four. Is he going to stay there? Or I'm just speculating, maybe he's got a couple indie projects he wants to work on because they haven't really put him on another book as far as I'm aware. Or is he going to stay at Marvel? I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there, but he could write the hell out of a book at DC. It's all I'll say. This is so exciting. I mean, I can't wait to see what this book becomes. It makes me want to read Iron Man, which is a character I don't give two shits about, so I think that's very exciting. And again, Christopher Cantwell, his Doctor Doom is incredible. Everyone should check it out. It's going to be in our recommendations. So let's talk about some of those PS5 announcements. And as a guy who is not a gamer, I don't know why I watched all of this. I just like, oh, it's coming out. Maybe it's some piece I could talk about on the GeekWave. A couple of things there that might be interesting. And there was a few things there I liked. I'm just talk about some of them briefly. Hitman 3 looks pretty cool. Another Resident Evil, that's kind of exciting for people that like that game. And Horizon Forbidden West, or West Forbidden, that looks good. If you guys are interested in those, they look really good. But there's two things that stuck out to me. Actually, there's three. The first one is that game where you're a cat. That looks awesome. And if I'm going to get the console, it might be for that game. And the other one is, I really like the way that Miles Morales game is looking. So it's Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I kind of wish it was just called Spider-Man or Ultimate Spider-Man. Because Miles Morales, I don't know if saying his name defeats the purpose of the character. I don't know. I like Miles Morales a lot. I think he is the quintessential Spider-Man of the modern times. Peter Parker has had so many years to be who he is, but I think Miles Morales is the more important Spider-Man for today's day and age, and I love him to death. The graphics look insane on this game. I'm so excited that's going to be its own standalone game that you can play separate from the other Spider-Man games. I think that's really cool and exciting. And the other thing about those that really excited me, that got me interested in what this was, is there's two different types of consoles. You got the physical disc console and you got the digital download console. That's brilliant. I'm so excited they're doing this. If it were me, I'd get the physical disc one because I like the idea of physical media still being around, still being sustained. I think it's important to have an actual disc copy of that kind of stuff just because it's important. You need that kind of stuff to be alive and vibrant, to keep certain elements of media alive. And it's very important. So I think that's really cool. Digital one's probably going to be cheaper. I don't know. But it's really exciting. I think they said, $700, but the price could drop. And that's kind of fun and exciting. So, if you guys are interested in the PlayStation 5, I think this is an interesting assortment to start you off with, get you kind of wanting to pick it up. For me, it's not something I'd buy opening day, but that's just because I'm not a gamer and I don't like live streaming video games. I never got that, and I might even do a whole video talking about why I don't get it or how come it doesn't appeal to me, and we'll have an open discussion about it. But that's all the news we have, so let's jump into our main topic. Let's do it. All right, I got my drink of whatever the hell this is, and we're going to continue on. So, main topic today, best sitcoms of the 2010s, and I'm actually pretty excited to talk about this. I was going to do best sitcoms of all time, but I figured this gives us a chance to talk about more shows. And if it's successful, maybe we'll go back and do the 2000s, the 90s, and maybe even the 80s. I don't watch a lot of old sitcoms from the 60s or 70s or 80s, but we might do a little video talking about them. I don't know. We'll see. So, some of these shows we are talking about today, I got a couple that I am excited about. I will get it out of the way in a second here. We'll talk about something important in a second here. But some of these shows, they may have made their debut in the 2000s, but most of their quality comes, or most of their content even comes from the 2010s. And that's why they're on the list. And I apologize to you guys if you see my cat walking up in camera or something. He is very energetic right now, and I just feel like he's going to be a burden. So we'll see what happens. I can see him eyeing up the area, and he's going to jump up. So we'll see what happens there. But this is important to mention. This is my opinion, and everything you're about to see is entirely my opinion, so please do not get mad or upset with me if you disagree with the way I love a show or the way I don't like a show. I'll tell you right now, The Office is not on my list. I am not a fan of The Office. I'm not going to be talking about The Office anymore after this. Same goes with How I Met Your Mother. And if we're ever going to talk about those shows, I think we'll talk about them in the 2000s video, but again, I don't like them that much. So let's talk about a couple of these shows here, and then we'll just see how it goes from there. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. You guys are gonna be happy. You're gonna enjoy it no matter what. You're gonna. Okay, so do it. All right. As you saw in the thumbnail, Community, 2009 to 2015. Let me say this about Community. I love this show. This was the first time I saw a program on TV that I was actually like, oh my God, I want to do that. I want to make quality content that makes people think and laugh and have fun and isn't just some basic formulaic bullshit. I want to do something unique. That's why when I write, I always look for the next angle in something. Community made me see script writing. It made me see just the process of a screenplay in a different way and how you can do different things in a genre that's kind of basic. And I'm very happy about that. I love that about it. And I love that since Netflix picked it up, it's kind of gotten more exposure and become way more popular. Like, there's always been the Community fans. There's always those of us who are streets ahead. And if you have to ask what that means, you're streets behind. But there's always that group of us who are always like fanatics with this show, and we loved it from day one, or we've picked it up. I picked it up in season 3 and watched all the way through on those. I really do like this show. And it was definitely ahead of its time. Just the sheer amount of meta brilliance that the characters have and everything they do, the way the stories play on it was very nuanced and interesting. And I love every little second about it. I don't think there's a bad moment. I mean, you could say what you will about season 4, and we're going to get to a little bit about Dan Harmon here in a sec. I think there's some good stuff in season 4. The way it worked was all right. But to me, the strongest seasons are seasons 2 and 3. And like season 3 was the one where I fully on started to watch. So that's the one I hold with the most reverence. But there's some great stuff in each season that holds up. The show was kind of falling apart at the end. And even the creator came out and said, it's because when Donald Glover left, we kind of lost our momentum. And of course you did. He was so charismatic and able to do like the last zinger of a scene that it just worked that way. And when you lose him, you're going to be losing a part of that too. But I love this show. Again, there's something about it that there was nothing else like it on television. It's all the good qualities of Arrested Development mixed with all the good qualities of something like Saved by the Bell. All of that mashed together to be something really interesting and unique. And look, I have said it before. I am not a fan of Dan Harmon. I think the guy is arrogant, he is loud, and he's kind of made a career out of being that guy. I don't appreciate it and I don't like it. He's not somebody I want to be as a creator. I think he's arrogant and he thinks he's better than everyone when he's just okay as being who he is. But as much as I don't like him, the show only works because of him. If there was anybody else involved in the creation of this show, they don't get what this is supposed to be. I think even some of the cast members took a little while to figure out what this show was and how it was supposed to be. There's some guys that got it from the beginning. Joel McHale, Danny Putty, Danny Glover got it. Danny Glover, Donald Glover got it. Like, those guys all got it, and they understood what it was. But, I think it's an important show, and it shows exactly what TV can do when it's trying to do something different and interesting. So I really do appreciate that aspect of it. And you know what? We might dedicate a whole episode of the GeekWave to Community, because it's one of those shows. It was that one show I always said was my favorite until I saw some other stuff that came out and I started to like other stuff a little more. But I really do love Community, and it's important, and we just might do an episode of the GeekWave talking about Community. But let's jump into our next show. Again, this one I think is might not be on everyone's radar as like the best show of the 2010s, but to me it's one of the most important ones. That is from 2009, and it ended this year actually in 2020. Modern Family. Look, in my honest opinion of Modern Family, it is one of the most important sitcoms of recent memory. It mainstreams so many different things in terms of romance and relationships, the differently aged relationship between like Jay and Gloria, and the whole stuff with the gay romance and making that important with like Mitch and Cam. You've never really seen those kind of characters portrayed in that way before, where it's like they're trying to start a family. They are more than just the gay token characters. They are very interested in each other. Same with Jay and Gloria. That relationship could easily be like, oh, she isn't really accustomed to the ways of people, but she genuinely loves him. And I think that's really interesting to see, especially when you're looking at that kind of show. I really like Modern Family. I think every actor in this show is perfectly cast for what they need to play. Ty Burrell is phenomenal. Dewey Bowen is phenomenal. Everybody just gets the show really well. And you're starting a show like this in 2009. It's 11 years ago. We are literally seeing the evolution of a bunch of kids. Well, all the kids, actually. Even Lily, who was a baby in the first season. Just seeing the way all those characters grow up. And every one of those kids. Manny, Luke, Haley, Alex, Lily. Just watching all of them grow up. They feel like real characters who are the same characters that they were in season 1. We see an actual evolution, and we don't do stupid storylines that don't work for these characters. As people grow up, their romantic tendencies grow up, certain elements grow up with them, but they always feel like the same character they were from the beginning of the show. And nobody ever feels out of place. And sure, certain times the story can go a little long. I think 11 seasons is a little long for this show, but most of it stuck the landing. I will say that. I think it's really good. I still need to watch the finale. I'm a little bit behind on Modern Family, just because I moved around quite a bit during this time. I really never got to stay there. I think I'm on like season 9 of the show. But it's one I want to go back and watch the finale, because it is a staple of television. It was nominated for so many awards, and it was just kind of so popular, but nobody was really talking about it, And definitely during the time when it first aired, I think it was a little more popular, and as it went on, people's interest died out because the next newest and greatest thing kind of took its place, but it's important. I think Modern Family deserves the spot on this list of like the best sitcoms of the 2010s. It's the most important one, if you ask me, just in terms of normalizing a lot of things that are very normalized in society, and it did some really great stuff in that regard. So I'm always going to be a fan of Modern Family. Like, I love that show to death, so I think it's going to be really fun to see how that turns out. All right, let's talk about this next show that's still going on, actually, which is the fact that this show is still going on will never cease to amaze me. Like, 2005 is when the show came out. 14 seasons. 14 seasons of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. How do we live in this timeline? How do we live in a timeline where we have 14 seasons of this show? It's just so amazing. And the show itself is literal perfection. Everything about it, every little scene, from every piece of dialogue to every little reaction from the actors to every way the camera is placed and moves with the characters, everything about it works so well. There's nothing bad about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Everything about it works. And the thing I love too is every episode is unique and different from the last one, but it manages to be funny still. Like, how can you say a show that's been on for 14 years is still funny and still humorous and does something new and inventive as it develops with the times that are changing, you know? The show isn't the same as it was in 2005. The culture is different, the people are different, and the show's evolved with that, and it still manages to be funny. Like, there's something about that not a lot of shows can do. Not every show out there is able to take the different ideas and the different beats of storytelling and evolve with the times and still make it funny, but not lose what made that show good in the first place. And I think It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia manages to do that in an amazing way. It's a really great testing ground to see what you can do for raunchy and offensive humor, but have it be non-offensive and be satirical. Like, I've said it before, and I know other people have said it before. This show is the modern Seinfeld. This show is everything Seinfeld was, to the point where this show even references itself being Seinfeld because the characters can't tell their own lives from an episode of Seinfeld. I think it's brilliant. Everything about the show works. Every character is great. It reignited Danny DeVito's career. Maybe he wasn't going anywhere and he's still working, but it put him back on the map and turned him into a public meme again. Like, the guy has become a phenomenon again because of this show, because they took the chance to put him in there. And you got to give props to them for that, because that's amazing. So It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, one of the most important shows out there too. It's the modern Seinfeld, you guys. This one's been on since 2013, which makes me think, wow, that's a lot of seasons of this show so far. But it's the Golbergs, and if you guys aren't watching the Golbergs, go watch the Golbergs. It is so funny. It's the show that feels like it's an old friend, even if the episodes aren't that great, or maybe it lacks something. You're still going to get a good laugh from an episode no matter what happens. There's still at least one funny thing in every episode, even if the storyline kind of goes nowhere. It's still kind of funny, and I think that's really impressive with a show like this. And I also like it because Adam Goldberg, I am Adam Goldberg. I feel like I know him. I feel like I am him. I love these dorky little things. I have a sense of humor. I'd love to tell a sitcom or a story about my family, and being able to do that I think is really cool. Just the way he's like, I'm going to make this about my family, and it's not going to hold back. You're going to see actual clips of my family and have it be fun and self-referential. I respect the hell out of that. But you're still doing it. It's like, I'm a kid of the 80s. I love GoBots and Thundercats and the Muppets and Star Wars and all those things. I'm not ashamed of those things. And we shouldn't be in today's climate be ashamed of those things. It's really fun and really interesting. You got to give respect to Adam Goldberg. I love the guy. He's a big inspiration. Very inspiring person, because if I want to make it in this business, I want to be like Adam Goldberg. I think that's really cool to see. I really love it. And I got to give props to Wendy McLevin-Covey, because, look, they're all great on this show. Everyone is great and perfectly cast, and everyone works. But just her energy is so next level compared to what we've seen her do in other things. I absolutely love it. Everything she does is so unique and brilliant to herself that I just respect the hell out of it. And I love every second she's on screen. Everything about her performance is amazing. And you guys, I think this is one that's aimed a little more for an older crowd. But if you're young, if you're like me, you might watch it, but if you're not watching the Goldbergs, go back and watch it, because if you are a little geeky kid or you're a dorky kid and you want to make it into movies or pretend you're making movies or any of that shit, you're going to relate to it. You are going to relate to it. No matter what anybody says, you are going to relate to it, and it's going to be fun. And I love it. It's that show that earns its place again. It's like It's Always Sunny. It's like it's Modern Family in that regard. It earns its place, and it's very important. So if you're a fan of the 80s, or you were alive in the 80s, you can relate to this show and understand it, because that's the kind of show it is. It's that fun and that interesting. All right, let's talk about the one Michael Schur show that I have on my list. Not everyone's going to agree with me, but it's on here. From 2016 to 2020, we got The Good Place. Is it Michael Schur's best work? Yes. I will stand by that. The way the show balances actual comedic humor with real-world ethics and philosophy is astounding. Every time you watch an episode, you are learning something new, and it's making you think. At the same time, you're getting some really funny humor. It's not lowbrow. It's just quirky and different humor. And I think that works really well, and I love everything about it. Kristen Bell is phenomenal. The guy who plays Chidi is phenomenal. Everybody is just doing great in this show. And every episode bleeds into the next one in a beautiful way. The ending sets up the next episode perfectly, and then vice versa, and it works so well. I mean, you want to talk about how good it is? Just look at how Ted Danson is enjoying himself. The TV icon Ted Danson is on this kind of a show, and he's having the time of his life, and he's doing the floss. He's doing the floss dance, guys. Ted Danson is flossing in this show. It's amazing, and honest to God, one of my all-time favorite finales. I don't think I've seen a finale for a comedy or a situational comedy that has made me go, huh, what is it all about? What does this mean? Why are we doing what we do? Is this real? What is the meaning of it all? And I think about that stuff a lot for a guy in his 20s. Like, I am very invested in that whole situation. And maybe that's why The Good Place worked for me so well. Because it took the comedy and it took the real life ideas and ethics and it balanced it out in a way that made me think and question, while at the same time having a hopeful outlook on things. This finale is so good. It's so good. I mean, I love every second of that finale. It worked so perfectly. Every character felt great. Every moment felt great. And everything about the show is fun. Go watch it. I think it's on Netflix. And I mean, the show gave us Jamila Jamil, and I love her to death. So I'll always be grateful for that because I love seeing her. And I love everything she's about and everything she does. So I'm so thankful she is part of this. I think it's great. And she's so cool. Okie dokie. Let's talk about this one. I was like, oh, okay, am I going to put this on? Should I give this spot to How I Met Your Mother? I'm like, no, we're not, because I think I've went back and watched more of this than I have How I Met Your Mother. So 2011 to 2018, we're talking about New Girl, and oh my God, okay, where to begin? Okay, New Girl is just fucking insane. No, New Girl is like, oh my God, there's something about this show. It's so charming and cute, and it's got that quirky thing again, but everything about it works. Like, I am not a guy who would normally want to watch this show about the 20-somethings living in their apartment and everything's this over-the-top zany adventure. I hate that shit so much, but I don't think there's been a series that has so perfectly shown the struggle of a 20-something trying to survive in a hustle and bustling city. I think that's great. I love every second of it. And it's so weird because the character of Nick Miller, played by Jake Johnson, I don't think I've related so much to a character since Adam Goldberg. Like, those two characters, you mash them together, that's pretty much how I feel 24/7. And I think that's really cool. And everything about it is really good. Everybody in the cast is amazing. And it's a surprisingly good time. It's not one I thought I'd enjoy, but I think every character works. Every joke is funny, especially when it's Max Greenfield acting his ass off. I love every second of it. It's a really fun time. And New Girl, I think it's a sleeper hit. And I had to put it on this list because if you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you're actually going to enjoy yourself watching it, which I think is very surprising for this kind of show. It's not bad. It's better than Friends. Same premise as Friends, but better. All right, we got two more we're going to talk about, then we're going to do a quick rapid fire on a couple. All right, 2012 to 2019. You guys can debate me if this is a situational comedy or not, but there is a situation and it is comical. We're talking about Veep. Oh my God, okay, this is arguably one of my favorite shows of all time. If not, it's in the top 5. It's definitely in the top 5 for me. I love everything about this. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a legend for making this show. She is the queen of television. I don't care what anybody says. She has never been bad on television, even if it's a guest cameo or anything. I love everything she does. She is fantastic. She is impossible to hate. And this is my favorite kind of humor. It's that every joke is going so fast, and it's not like over the top either. It's a very soft joke that sometimes you can't even tell there was a joke until the joke's gone. You have to go back and think about it, and everything's moving at this great speed. This guy did Avenue 5, another show I'm obsessed with and love. I think that's so great. Everything about it is so cool. It's not for everyone. I mean, I think that's apparent. This is not for everyone, and I get that, but if it is for you, you're going to love every second of it, because I'm a political junkie, and I love when they make fun of the satirical elements of those shows. It's amazing. Again, one of my favorite finales of all time, because I think it just shows everything that this series was leading up to and what it became. I think that's great stuff, and everything about it worked really well for me. I absolutely loved that finale. And my main man, Tony Hale. You're insane, dude. Like, you're like Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Everything you do on television is gold, and you're great, and I love you. I love you, man. Tony Hale, you're so good. Veep is so good. Like, this is such a show that is made for me. Everything about it just works for me. And it feels highbrow, but it's not highbrow, and I love that shit, so that's fun. Love it to death. And then we got the last big one we're going to be talking about from 2014 to 2019, Silicon Valley. And I think this is a show that perfectly depicts exactly what it's trying to depict. Every actor is perfectly cast, right down to their mannerisms. Martin Starr, Kumail Nanjiani, Thomas Middleditch, Zach Woods. Who am I missing? Baghetti, who plays him? I can't remember. They're perfect. Everything about them is so great and so interesting and so fun. And this is like, I think, the perfect show to just tell you and show you how to depict a nerd or a socially inept person, because it feels real. Richard Hendricks feels like a real guy that's believable in this industry, in this tech industry. He is so socially inept and awkward and different from everyone else that it's believable in a way that other shows that are sitcoms aren't when it comes to those characters. It feels like Geeks done right on television. It feels like a geek that was been done right on television, and it doesn't feel false about it. The story is really engaging too, even if you don't understand what it is, like the tech side or the internet side or all that stuff. Everything you're seeing and everything about the show is still engaging and fun, and I think that's a really cool testament to what this show is. It's just a really good time. And if you're not watching Silicon Valley, guys, you gotta watch Silicon Valley. Again, it's another one. Veep and Silicon Valley, they're on HBO. You can go back and just have a good time. I think they are very important shows of the time they come out in. It's another really good finale. It's not my favorite finale, but I still like it. And it's just a really interesting show. So, Silicon Valley. So we are gonna take a quick break. And when we come back, we're gonna talk about a couple more. Ready? Let's do it. So we got a couple of ones we're just going to quick fire and talk about in a couple seconds here. They're going to be really fun. Okay? These are the shows that are good. They're all good shows, but they're not my favorite, and I just kind of wanted to bring them up so people don't get mad at me for not bringing them up, you know? They're just not my favorite. I talked about my favorites. You can probably tell a lot about me because what is my favorite and what's not my favorite, okay? Don't be mad. Don't be mad that I didn't bring up your favorite sitcom, okay? I know I didn't, and don't be mad at me. We're going to do an episode on why that one sitcom that I mentioned earlier is not on my list, and it was going to be really fun, and you're either going to love me or hate me for it. So that's what we're doing there, okay? Don't be mad because I didn't mention it. So here's some sitcoms that are good, but not my favorite, that came out in 2010. Parks and Rec, it's good. It's a good show. It's really fun and interesting. The characters are all unique and interesting. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, another one I think has taken on a life of its own and become something bigger. And I think the more something becomes this cultural sensation, the less interesting it becomes. So, I mean, I like it a lot. And I always say this about Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I watched the pilot when it came out. I was there day one. I was there watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine day one before all you people jumped on the bandwagon and started watching it because you realized it was funny. I was there day one. Where were you day one? I was watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You were waiting till it was bingeable on Netflix, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Watch live TV. It's important. Next, we have Schitt's Creek, a Canadian one that I absolutely adore. I think it's hilarious and it's so funny and unique, and nothing's really been done like it, especially in Canada. The Levies are adorable. And then we have The Big Bang Theory, which is another one that I am iffy on. I don't think it understands what a geek is. It says what a geek should be instead of what a geek is. And just because you say someone's a geek, that doesn't make them a geek. And I don't like it that much. But it's important. I think it definitely influenced a lot more of television than I think people realize. And it kind of helped mainstream the nerd, which was kind of cool. I'm glad it did that, but that's not how nerds are. We're not like the Big Bang Theory. We're real people. Hot in Cleveland. Oh my goodness, is Hot in Cleveland a show for me? I love it. Everything about it's great. Absolutely adorable show. very funny, very underrated, and I only put it on here just because I always forget about it. It's like it kind of just flies under the radar, but I love Hot in Cleveland. That's a show for me. Oh, it's so good. I love Hot. It's so good. Blackish. Another really good show. Again, it's not for me. I think I like a lot about it, and I'm really happy it exists, and there's a lot of good stuff from it. Not my favorite. It's still better than a lot of sitcoms out there. And we're going to end things off with You're the Worst, which is fucking amazing. Like, this show is great. Everything about it is so funny. The way the characters act and react to everything, it's perfect. I love it. It's so funny. So that's our sitcom talk for this week. And if you guys like this one, I think we might go ahead and jump back in doing the 2000s and the 90s sitcoms. It depends if this one doesn't. I know I didn't talk about every sitcom, and maybe the ones I talk about you're not a fan of. But hey, it's not made for you. It's made for the general audiences, and it's my opinion. So if you don't agree with it, I'm sorry. You can get over it. You're a grown man or woman, and if you're not, then why are you watching this? Because I've talked about some shows that are a little too mature for you. Go back and watch your other shows like Clarence. Clarence is actually pretty funny. All right, let's get into our recommendations for this week. We got a couple recommendations for you guys. I think it's going to be really fun, really interesting stuff to check out. Our first one, check out Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's a good time. Trust me, you're going to have fun with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. What a ride that is. It's so entertaining. Secondly, check out Dr. Doom by Christopher Cantwell. I'm telling you guys, this book is amazing. It is so phenomenal. It is so fun. You're going to love every second of it. I guarantee it. And finally, Veep. Like all the shows I talked about, I think Veep is the one everyone should go out and check out because it's just so fun, fast-paced, lighthearted. Every joke sticks. Everything about it is great and fantastic. It's all around amazing. So check it out. And thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the GeekWave. Be sure to check me out on Patreon, Instagram, and Twitter for all the great stuff and all the great information that I have there. And stay tuned for more content coming to this channel, like 5-film feature, weekly pull on Patreon. You can check out there. There's always going to be a review of Stargirl coming out, so check that out. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.